a billionaire disguised himself as a poor wheelbarrow pusher. He was mocked by many girls in the market, but when he met Ifeoma, everything changed. Watch more. The sun blazed over the bustling streets of Lagos, where men and women moved with purpose, dodging cars and weaving through the crowd. At the heart of the commotion was a young man, his dark skin glistening with sweat, his shirt worn out, and his hands firmly gripping the handle of a rusty wheelbarrow. His name, as the streets knew him, was Musa. But in reality, he was Emeka Obiagu, the only son of Chief Damian Obiagu, a billionaire businessman whose wealth stretched across Nigeria and beyond. Emeka had grown tired of the fake smiles, the calculated kindness, and the girls who only saw him as a golden ticket to a life of luxury. He wanted something real. He wanted a woman who would love him for the man he was, not for his father's name or his overflowing bank accounts. So, he disappeared from his mansion in Ikoyi, shaved his beard, wore second-hand clothes, and found himself pushing a wheelbarrow in the streets of Lagos. As he navigated through the market, the mockery was constant. See this one? Fine boy way suppose day office, not trucky day push, a girl selling tomatoes laughed, nudging her friend. Abio. He fine for nothing, her friend added, shaking her head. Person way no get better future. Emeka ignored them. He had heard worse. Some girls openly called him wasted beauty, while others said, not poverty go kill am. He kept pushing, determined not to let the laughter shake him. One afternoon, as he struggled to push a heavy load of yams for a customer, a girl ran past him and bumped into him. She stumbled, and before she could fall, Emeka caught her. Ah. Sorry she gasped, looking up at him. Emeka found himself staring into the eyes of a young woman, her skin smooth like cocoa butter, her face free of the heavy makeup most girls in Lagos wore. She had the simple beauty of someone who didn't try too hard, and that intrigued him. You should be careful, he said, steadying her. Now that useless Musa dey worry me, she said, brushing dust off her dress. Who be Musa? She scoffed. One stupid boy way dey always disturb me say make I be him babe. As if say na by force. Emeka chuckled. Maybe he likes you. She rolled her eyes. If na so love be, I no want. I never even see who go like me for who I be. Something in her words struck Emeka. Not who you be, he asked. She hesitated, then sighed. Nah girl way dey struggle to survive. I no get fine cloth, I no get rich papa, and I no dey do slay queen like other girls. Emeka smiled. Maybe that's not a bad thing. She raised a brow. Which kind truck pusher dey talk like this? Maybe I be different. She laughed. A beg. Carry your wheelbarrow go. I get work. Wait, he called out. You never tell me your name. She turned back, hesitated, then smiled. Ifeoma. And with that, she disappeared into the crowd. For the first time in a long time, Emeka felt something stir in his heart. Maybe, just maybe, he had found what he was looking for. The days passed, and Emeka couldn't stop thinking about Ifeoma. He found himself looking for her in the market, hoping to catch another glimpse of her. Each time he pushed his wheelbarrow past the tomato sellers, they still laughed and whispered insults about him, but he had grown used to it. His focus was on something else, on someone else. Then, one afternoon, fate brought them together again. Ifeoma was standing by a plantain stall, haggling with the seller. Emeka noticed how serious she looked, arguing about the price as if her life depended on it. He smiled to himself and walked over. Still fighting over plantain, he teased. Ifeoma turned and gasped. Ah, truck pusher. You again. You remember me. She laughed. Who go forget? Fine boy like you way day push wheelbarrow like say life don finish. Emeka chuckled. Maybe life never finish, maybe e just day start. She studied him for a moment, then shook her head. You talk different from other truck pushers. How dem day talk? He asked, pretending to be curious. She shrugged. Dem no get time for plenty talk. Na hustle dem day hustle. But you day talk like person way don see life. Emeka smiled but said nothing. He liked that she noticed there was something different about him. You don chop today? He asked. She scoffed. Which kind question be that? You see me I resemble person way chop bell full. Come make we go chop, he said, surprising even himself. She raised a brow. Now you want buy food for me? Truck pusher like you? Yes. Or you no go gree? She hesitated, then shrugged. I go gree if you no carry me go better restaurant way I no fit afford to pay if wahala burst. He laughed. No wahala, we go eat where you like. They walked to a small roadside buka, where they ordered rice and beans with stew. As they ate, Emeka listened more than he spoke. He learned that Ifeoma was the eldest of 5 children, struggling to take care of her siblings after their parents died. She worked different jobs in the market, selling and running errands, just to survive. You no get boyfriend? He asked, wiping his mouth with the back of his hand. She scoffed. Which kind question be that? You think say I get time for love when hunger won't finish me and my siblings? Emeka nodded, impressed by her sense of responsibility. Ifeoma was different from the girls who mocked him daily. She wasn't chasing money or luxury, she was just trying to survive. Something about her made him want to protect her. As they finished eating, Ifeoma looked at him curiously. You never tell me your real name. Emeka hesitated. Na Musa, he lied. She narrowed her eyes. Musa. That one no fit you. Na wetin dem day call me, he insisted. She shrugged. Okay, Musa. Since you buy me food, I go help you push your wheelbarrow small. He laughed, thinking she was joking. But before he knew it, she had grabbed the handles of the wheelbarrow and started pushing it down the street. The market women burst into laughter. Ha! Ifeoma Don joined truck pushers, one of them called out. Another laughed. 2 of Una fit each other. Ifeoma ignored them, laughing as she struggled to control the wheelbarrow. Emeka watched her, feeling something he hadn't felt in a long time, happiness. For the first time, he wasn't just a billionaire pretending to be poor. He was just a man, standing beside a woman who made his heart race. And he knew, this was just the beginning. Days turned into weeks, and Emeka, still disguised as Musa, found himself spending more and more time with Ifeoma. He would push his wheelbarrow through the market, pretending to be just another struggling laborer, but in reality, he was watching her, learning about her, understanding her world. The girls who once mocked him continued their laughter. See as he day follow Ifeoma like lost puppy, one of them sneered. Another one, Amaka, who was known for chasing rich men, hissed. Not poverty love dem day do. E no go last. Ifeoma ignored them, and so did Emeka. Ifeoma wasn't like them, she was real. She didn't care about his ragged clothes or the wheelbarrow he pushed. She cared about him. One evening, after a long day in the market, Emeka and Ifeoma sat by a wooden bench near a roadside suya spot. The night air was cool, the smell of grilled meat filling the air. Ifeoma stretched her arms and sighed. I tire, she said. But at least today no too bad. Emeka smiled. You day always find reason to be happy, even when things hard. She chuckled. If I no laugh, wetin I go do? Cry. Life too short today frown every day. Emeka admired that about her. Even in hardship, she found joy. You no ever dream say one day you go get better life, he asked. She sighed, looking up at the night sky. I dream but dream no be reality. I just want make my siblings no suffer. If I fit do that one, I go happy. Something in her voice made Emeka's heart tighten. He wanted to tell her the truth. He wanted to say, I'm not really poor. I'm a billionaire's son. I can take you away from all this. But he knew he couldn't, not yet. He needed to be sure she truly loved him, not for what he could give her, but for who he was. Then, something happened that changed everything. A sleek black SUV pulled up near them. The door opened, and a well-dressed man stepped out. He was in his early 30s, tall, confident, and obviously rich. He spotted Ifeoma and smiled. Ifeoma, long time, the man said smoothly. Ifeoma frowned. Chuka. Wetin you day find here? Chuka smirked. I just day pass, I see you. You know day change, still struggling for this market life. Why you no gree for me that time? See as you still day suffer. Emeka felt his jaw tighten. He didn't like the way Chuka was looking at Ifeoma, as if she was beneath him. Ifeoma crossed her arms. Chuka, I don't tell you before. I no want your money. Carry your wahala go. Chuka chuckled, shaking his head. See as you day form. You day follow truck pusher, but you no fit follow me way go fit take care of you. Not poverty love you day do. The insult stung, but before Emeka could speak, Ifeoma did something that shocked him. She stepped forward, her voice firm. I no need your money, Chuka. Musa better pass you, because he no day use money take control person. He get better hard pass you. Chuka scoffed. We go see how long you go last with this your truck pusher. He glanced at Emeka and sneered. Enjoy your poverty. With that, he got into his car and drove off. Emeka turned to Ifeoma, his heart pounding. Why you defend me like that? She shrugged. Because you be good person, and Chuka na arrogant fool. Money no mean say person good. Emeka swallowed hard. He had tested her enough. He had found what he was looking for. Now, it was time for the truth. But how would she react when she found out that the truck pusher she had been defending was a... The next morning, Emeka woke up restless. He had tossed and turned all night, thinking about Ifeoma, about the way she had defended him without hesitation. It was clear now, she wasn't like the other girls who mocked him or chased after rich men. She had chosen him, believing he was a mere truck pusher. But how would she feel when she found out the truth? That evening, as usual, he met Ifeoma in the market. She was busy arranging fresh vegetables at the stall where she worked. When she saw him, she smiled. You come late today, Musa, she teased. Emeka chuckled. I been day reason some things. She dusted her hands on her wrapper and looked at him curiously. Which kind thing? He hesitated. This was it. The moment he had been waiting for. But before he could speak, another interruption came. A group of market women started murmuring and pointing. A convoy of expensive cars had just pulled up near the market. Who be this big man way day enter market with plenty security, someone whispered. Emeka's heart sank. He knew that convoy. Before he could react, the door of the first car opened, and out stepped a tall, elderly man dressed in an expensive white kaftan, his father, Chief Damien Obiagu. The entire market went silent. The chief never came to places like this. People whispered, trying to understand what was happening. Ifeoma looked at Emeka. Who be this man way everybody day look? Emeka swallowed hard. His father's eyes scanned the market, and then, finally, they settled on him. Chukwubuka, his father's deep voice rang out. Ifeoma turned to Emeka sharply. Wait, what didn't he call you? Emeka sighed, running a hand over his face. The truth was out. There was no running anymore. Ifeoma, he said quietly, I need to tell you something. But she was already stepping away from him, her eyes wide with confusion. The chief walked closer, his expression unreadable. What nonsense is this? My own son, a truck pusher. He shook his head in disappointment. Have you lost your mind, Emeka? Gasps filled the air. The tomato sellers who used to mock him stared in shock. The same girls who had once laughed at him for being poor now looked at him with sudden interest. Wait, so Musa na billionaire Pekin? Jesus! This life no balance. Ifeoma was frozen in place. Emeka, she whispered, as if trying to confirm if all this was real. Emeka stepped closer. I wanted to find real love, Ifeoma. I disguised myself because I was tired of fake people who only wanted me for my money. She shook her head, stepping further back. So, everything na lie? You lied to me. It wasn't a lie, he said desperately. The only thing I hid was my name and my wealth. But everything else, the time we spent together, the things I told you, how I feel about you, that was real. Her eyes filled with something he couldn't read, betrayal, anger, pain. How I go take believe you now, she whispered. The market was still watching, waiting for her reaction. The same girls who used to insult him were now smiling, adjusting their hair, trying to catch his attention. But Emeka didn't care about them. His heart was pounding for only one person. Ifeoma, he said, stepping closer again. Please, don't walk away. She looked at him one last time, then turned and ran. And just like that, the woman he had fallen in love with disappeared into the crowd. Emeka stood frozen as he watched Ifeoma disappear into the busy market crowd. His heart pounded in his chest, and for the first time in his life, he felt completely powerless. The same market women who once mocked him were now chattering excitedly. Ah. Ifeoma no get sense at all. How she go run leave Billionaire? She go come back. Which poor girl go see money and run? See as God take surprise us. The truck pusher way we day laugh na Billionaire. But Emeka wasn't listening. His father was still standing in front of him, his face filled with disappointment. Get in the car, Chief Obiagu ordered. Emeka clenched his jaw. No, Papa. His father's eyes narrowed. You have embarrassed this family enough. Do you know how many people have been asking where you disappeared to? And to think you were here, pushing wheelbarrows like a common laborer. Emeka took a deep breath. Papa, I needed to do this. I needed to know who would love me for me, not for money. His father shook his head. And did you find what you were looking for? Emeka's heart ached. He had found it. He had found her. But now, he was losing her. Without another word, he turned and ran in the direction Ifeoma had gone. The market was crowded, and he pushed past people, his eyes searching desperately. Ifeoma, he called, ignoring the strange looks from people. He ran to her usual spot, the vegetable stall where she worked. But she wasn't there. Madam, where Ifeoma? He asked the elderly woman who owned the stall. The woman gave him a hard look. She don pack her things go house. Say she no one talk to anybody. Emeka's heart sank. He had to see her. He had to explain. He turned and ran toward the small street where she lived. The narrow path was filled with little children playing, and the houses were simple, built close together. When he reached the small room Ifeoma shared with her siblings, he knocked urgently. Ifeoma, please. It's me. There was silence. Ifeoma, a beg, just hear me out. Please. Still, no answer. One of the neighbors, a young woman carrying a baby on her hip, walked by and shook her head. She no go open door for you. She don cry since she come back. Emeka's chest tightened. She's crying. The woman nodded. She feel say you play with her heart. He swallowed hard. He had never wanted to hurt her. Ifeoma, I swear to you, I never meant to lie to you. I only hid my true identity because I was scared. But everything else, everything I said, everything I felt, it was real, he said, his voice breaking. Still, no response. Frustrated, Emeka turned and leaned against the wall, rubbing a hand over his face. He had never begged for anything in his life. He had never had to. But for Ifeoma, he would. I love you, Ifeoma, he said finally, his voice raw. And I'll wait for you to forgive me. With that, he turned and walked away, his heart heavier than it had ever been. But deep inside, he knew this wasn't the end. Ifeoma was the woman he loved. And he wasn't going to give up on her. For days, Emeka tried to reach Ifeoma, but she refused to see him. She stopped coming to the market, and no matter how many times he knocked on her door, there was always silence on the other side. His heart ached in a way he had never known before. He had spent his whole life surrounded by luxury, by people who would do anything to be close to him because of his wealth. But Ifeoma was different. She had loved him when she thought he had nothing, and now, because of his lie, he was losing her. One evening, frustrated and restless, Emeka sat in his father's grand living room in Ikoyi, staring at his untouched glass of whiskey. His father entered, watching him with a knowing look. So, this is what love has done to you? Chief Obiagu said, sitting opposite him. Emeka sighed. Papa, I don't expect you to understand. His father chuckled. Oh, but I do. More than you think. Emeka frowned. You do. Chief Obiagu nodded. Your mother was a poor village girl when I met her. My family nearly disowned me for wanting to marry her." He smiled slightly. "But she had something that money couldn't buy, character." Emeka stared at his father in shock. He had never heard this story before. "So what did you do?" Emeka asked. His father leaned forward. "I proved to her that my love was real." He paused, studying his son. "The question is, how far are you willing to go for this girl?" Emeka straightened. He knew the answer. Anything. The next morning, Ifeoma sat outside her small room, peeling cassava while her younger siblings played nearby. She hadn't been able to sleep for days. Emeka's words haunted her. "I love you, Ifeoma. And I'll wait for you to forgive me." She had tried to be angry, to stay away, but her heart betrayed her. She missed him. Just then, she heard excited whispers from the street. "Come and see something." "Ah. Is that not?" Curious, she stood up and walked toward the noise. What she saw made her freeze. There, in the middle of the street, was Emeka. But he wasn't in a fancy car, or wearing his usual rich man's clothes. He was dressed exactly as she had always known him, simple, rugged, like the truck pusher she had fallen for. And in front of him was a wheelbarrow, filled with bags of food, rice, beans, gari, yams, tomatoes, and even a few toys for her siblings. The entire neighborhood watched in stunned silence. Emeka looked up, his eyes locking onto hers. "Ifeoma," he said, his voice steady. "I know I hurt you. I know I should have told you the truth from the start. But everything I felt for you was real." She swallowed hard, her heart pounding. "I don't care about money. I don't care about wealth. The only thing I care about is you," Emeka continued. "I was willing to live a poor man's life just to find true love. And I found it in you." Tears welled in Ifeoma's eyes. "I don't want to lose you," he said softly. "So, I'm here. With my wheelbarrow. Ready to start over, if you'll have me." The street was silent. Even the children stopped playing. Then, finally, Ifeoma took a deep breath, stepped forward, and gently touched the wheelbarrow. "You still sabi push him well?" she asked with a small smile. Emeka chuckled, his heart swelling with hope. "I go teach you." The crowd erupted in cheers as Ifeoma, with tears in her eyes, walked into Emeka's arms. She had loved him when she thought he had nothing. And now, knowing the truth, she loved him still. The cheers from the crowd grew louder as Emeka wrapped his arms around Ifeoma, holding her tightly. It was as if the weight of the world had been lifted off his shoulders. He had feared that she would never forgive him, that she would never trust him again. But here she was, in his arms, accepting him, not as a billionaire's son, but as the man she had grown to love. Ifeoma pulled back slightly, looking into his eyes. "So, what and go happen now?" Emeka smiled. "Anything we want to happen." The market women, who once mocked him, now swarmed around them, excitement shining in their eyes. "Ifeoma, my sister, you don hammer," one shouted, clapping her hands. "Chai. See how love take change person story," another one added, shaking her head in disbelief. The same girls who once mocked Ifeoma for being with a truck pusher were now looking at her with envy. Amaka, the loudest of them all, folded her arms and hissed. "Abeg, na she be the luckiest girl for Lagos now." Ifeoma turned to Emeka, ignoring the noise around them. "You really mean you know go leave me go back to your rich people life?" Emeka cupped her face gently. "My life is with you. Whether in the market, whether in Ikoyi, whether anywhere, na you I want." Tears filled her eyes, and she nodded, unable to speak. Emeka turned to the wheelbarrow and picked up one of the bags of rice. "Before anything, make I deliver this food inside." Laughter and applause filled the air as Emeka and Ifeoma, side by side, carried the food into her small home. Her younger siblings ran up excitedly, their faces lighting up at the sight of the rice, beans, and even the toys Emeka had brought. "Brother Emeka, na you buy all this?" the youngest one, Chinanai, asked in awe. Emeka crouched down, smiling warmly. "Yes, and there's more where that came from." The children cheered, running to hug him, and Ifeoma wiped her eyes, overwhelmed with emotion. That evening, the entire neighborhood celebrated. The same people who had whispered about Emeka being a common truck pusher were now treating him with respect. His humility, his willingness to live like them just to find true love, had won their hearts. Later that night, as Ifeoma and Emeka sat outside her home, watching the stars, she rested her head on his shoulder. "You don't prove yourself, Emeka. I know say you love me." He kissed her forehead. "And I go continue to prove him every day." Ifeoma smiled. "I no need all the money for this world. I just want make you promise me one thing." "Anything," he said instantly. She turned to him, her eyes serious. "No matter how rich you be, no matter where life carry us go, make sure say we never forget who we be." Emeka took her hands in his, nodding. "I swear it." And at that moment, under the Lagos night sky, surrounded by love and laughter, they knew they had found something that money could never buy. In the weeks that followed, Emeka kept his promise. He didn't rush Ifeoma into a new life of wealth. Instead, he spent time with her and her family, showing them that his love was real. He still came to the market often, not as a truck pusher anymore, but as a man who respected where he had come from. At first, people were shocked to see him still walking through the market in simple clothes, chatting with traders, helping Ifeoma at her stall. But gradually, they accepted that Emeka was different from the typical rich men they knew. One afternoon, as Ifeoma arranged fresh tomatoes on a wooden tray, Emeka sat beside her, watching her with admiration. "You know say you no need to work like this again," he said, teasing her. Ifeoma chuckled. "So because I don't get rich man, I go turn madam and sit down for house." She playfully hit his arm. "A beg, I no want that kind life. I like to hustle." Emeka laughed. "That's why I love you." Just then, a familiar voice interrupted them. "Ifeoma." They turned and saw Amaka and a few other market girls approaching, their expressions filled with forced smiles. Ifeoma raised an eyebrow. "Yes." Amaka cleared her throat and glanced at Emeka. "Ah, Ifeoma, my sister. We just say make we come greet you. No be small thing oh. You and Oga Emeka don turn Lagos celebrity." The other girls nodded eagerly. "A beg, Ifeoma, forgive us for all the bad things we talked before. We no say love not true love." Ifeoma smirked, crossing her arms. "So, now way una no say Emeka get money, una don change mouth." Amaka laughed awkwardly. "No be like that." Emeka chuckled and stood up. "No wahala. But Ifeoma no need fake friends." He slipped his hand into Ifeoma's and squeezed gently. "She don already get everything she need." The girls' faces fell. They realized they had lost their chance. As they walked away, Ifeoma turned to Emeka with a teasing smile. "See how them day form friendly now." Emeka shook his head. "People go always change when money enter the matter. But now you I care about." Ifeoma's heart warmed. She squeezed his hand back. "And now you I choose, rich or poor." A few months later, Emeka took Ifeoma to meet his family properly. His mother, a kind woman with a warm smile, welcomed her with open arms. "Any woman way fit make my son forget all him billions just to find love must be special." His father, though still a bit traditional, had grown to respect Ifeoma. He had seen how Emeka fought for her, and how she wasn't chasing his money like others. And so, with the blessings of both families, plans for their wedding began. On the day of their traditional wedding in Ifeoma's village, the atmosphere was electric. The entire village gathered, amazed that their humble Ifeoma was marrying one of the richest men in the country. But despite the wealth, the wedding remained simple and full of love. Emeka insisted on honoring her roots. There were no extravagant displays of wealth, no over-the-top decorations, just a celebration of love, family, and community. As Emeka and Ifeoma danced under the moonlit sky, surrounded by music and laughter, he leaned into her ear and whispered, "You changed my life, Ifeoma." She smiled up at him. "And you showed me that real love still exists." They held each other close, knowing that no matter what the future held, they had found something that money could never buy, true, unconditional love. We have gotten to the end of this story. If you know you love this channel, kindly like and subscribe so you'll be the first to get my new video. Thank you for your time. God bless you.